So Emmy, what are some challenges that you've experienced while interning at Oxfam?
I think the largest challenge has been the time commitment and just finding the balance between doing 6 hours of internship at Oxfam while still balancing the 3 hours of lecture and getting both the deliverables for the lecture, which is like the journals, the reports, the coming to class, doing class facilitation, as well as keeping up with the deliverables at Oxfam is just extremely challenging, actually doing that all in just 9 hours in a week and not having to devote more time to it, but still getting everything done.
Well, for me personally, I never worked at an NGO before, so coming into Oxfam was a new experience for me and I didn't know what to expect because in terms of their objectives, in terms of how the organization worked and its structure. So it was kind of a challenge in trying to adjust myself into understanding the processes of an NGO. And another challenge for me was also interviews. I never conducted an interview before, so I was quite nervous about it. So I wasn't sure how it was going to go about. And in terms of a second language in French, I wasn't really sure my capabilities of interviewing someone in French. So that kind of made me nervous, and to me that was a significant challenge in how I thought of the work at Oxfam.
Well, the first we experienced when we first came into Oxfam, we realized that a lot of the stuff that we expected was not as we expected it. We had a lot of problems with technology first and foremost. Basically, the technology didn't work for us all the time. We had this thing called Box where we were supposed to put all our information in. That never materialized, so we had to, end up using Google Drive as a means to mitigate that. We also had some interviews we're supposed to have with other people to prepare us for our interviews, and they never worked out.
Well, some of my challenges definitely, I guess, kind of my expectations going into it. I guess I'm a high achiever, so I expect that we can do a lot more with a short amount of time than we end up being able to do. And I know I contributed to maybe a different understanding of the ethics application than some other people, because I thought it would maybe only take us a week, and it ended up taking us 2 weeks to complete the application and then time on top of that to have it approved. So it was kind of just coming to terms with my expectations of workload.
I think a big thing is just sort of being honest with myself, being honest with Jean and Bessa and Christine and Anya of how much I can feasibly do within those 9 hours, and just not lowering expectations, but just adjusting them to be more realistic for the amount of time that we're given for this project.
So one thing I learned from working with the NGO is always go with the flow. It doesn't always work out the way you want it to, and it's not for you to say that, well, since it didn't work out, I'm not going to do anything. You just have to pick up where the other person left off and just continue. So that was a big challenge for us, just technology and learning how to work with people, work with teams that work across the world and have different time zones, and just trying to manipulate that. So that was a challenge, but I think we overcame it.
We had so much support from Oxfam in setting out really realistic deadlines and schedules for us. It helped curb a little bit of that over-enthusiasm that sometimes happens when you're working for a new organization or on a really exciting project.
I think it's still a learning process for me. So basically Christine and Anya came up with best practices for interviews and really helped us to kind of all bring in the problems we have with interviews and find ways to solve it. So the fact that she included us in the whole best practices process kind of helped me with the interview, and knowing that I'm not the only one who had a problem with the interview was also a comforting thought. So basically everyone also had challenges, and we all try to work together to combat these challenges with the interviews. And once the first interview was done, I felt comfortable enough to handle the second one as well. So it went really well.
So the first thing that I really enjoyed is the amount of communication there was. I felt like I was part of the team as of day one, and I never felt like I was treated as an intern, or that the knowledge that I had coming in there was somehow inadequate, and they've really helped in filling the gaps in my knowledge when it came to working in an NGO with humanitarian work funding and all those things. But the knowledge that I did bring was never discounted. The other thing that I really enjoyed was the fact that there was always healthy discussion of what we were doing there, and it was never sort of a top-down approach. It was very much around the table of what we think the best ideas, and it wasn't necessarily our ideas were stowed away because we were just interns or we're just undergrads. So being treated as an equal in an organization really makes you feel so much better about yourself, and really does make the work a lot better and easier to fulfill.
Well, I learned how to work in an NGO, so that was my first time working in a non-profit organization, and it was just immense. It was such an experience working with people who've worked from different countries and on different issues, and especially working in gender-based violence and violence against women. I found that was my first time dealing with that. Working in that area, so I found that I really learned a lot that I didn't know. A lot of the stuff that I thought I understood were challenged by that, and being the only guy in the class and as well as the only guy in the pretty much the internship, like I had to really look at my own biases and my own perspective and my own view, basically. So that was interesting. But I really liked that everybody accepted your opinions, and there was a lot of information. Everybody shared what they had, and I feel like I really, really learned a lot. And I think this is going to really help me out in my future, wherever that goes. So.
And I also liked how Oxfam generally is structured, in the sense that it's a rights-based organization, so they work with local partners in whatever country they're working on, and depending on their project. And so that really makes them different from other organizations, and I like learning about how Oxfam gets its funding, about the humanitarian aspects of Oxfam. So I got a lot of information about the organization in general, and that I really found helpful. And I just really enjoyed the support and the help we got from Christina and Anya and everyone else who had an input in this project. And I also liked working as a team on a practical project. So that to me was an interesting aspect of this work.
Having the organization treat you as almost an equal and like a partner in learning and in the project was really great, because I know kind of the typical intern might be running to get coffee, but we were elbow deep in the project, you could say, and I felt like I actually got an opportunity to contribute my knowledge and skills to the end of the project, and that was really helpful in kind of like validating my skills and making me feel like I could look for a future in this type of organization.